Nikki Haley's campaign, and during some points of the Ron DeSantis campaign, a point was being made by both of those campaigns that Donald J. Trump was the establishment. Nikki Haley has recently become one of the biggest proponents of this misleading phrase, and this accusation comes after Trump has secured the endorsement of over 100 congressmen, 30 senators, and 11 governors, along with countless party officials at all levels. And the RNC had begun drafting a resolution to preemptively declare Trump the nominee. Nikki Haley is trying to harness the Republicans' hatred of establishment Republicans to weaken Trump's support. However, these lines of attacks are completely disingenuous. To call Trump the establishment may be correct on paper, but the establishment of 2024 is not the same establishment that Donald Trump ran against in 2016.
Get on a raft with Taft, boys, get on the winning boat. The man worthwhile with a friendly smile will get the honest vote. He'll save the country, sure, boys, from Bryan, Hearst, and Kraft.
From 2015 to 2024, a lot of politicians have been shuffled around and out. Each congressional district has gone through 4 elections, and each senator has been through at least one. So let's look at it by the numbers. With 248 new congressmen, 33 new senators, and 48 new governors, along with the 2 presidential elections that this nation has gone through, it is a completely different political landscape. Much of the leadership in Congress has been shuffled around and changed, and while Senate leadership is relatively the same, many of the senators below leadership have been forced to adapt to their brand new party's goals. Various groups have shifted away and towards different parties, causing both parties to adopt new ideas and abandon old ones. The GOP of 2015 is, if not dead, severely weakened. Many of them began leaving the party around 2018, but it was probably 2020 and 2022 that broke them. The future in the GOP is fundamentally MAGA. The new ideas that lead politics are coming from the brand new think tanks that have come up and the new congressmen, and they fundamentally differ from the establishment of old. That right there is the fundamental flaw in calling Trump the establishment and expecting the same reaction the word pulled from voters in 2016. That establishment lost. The establishment of old doesn't hold that much power anymore. And every year they have lost more and more power to the point where they really don't hold that much power now. They have basically coalesced around a few mega donors in the hopes of getting back the GOP of old. And those donors back Nikki Haley, not Donald Trump. And it's Haley who often aligns with the views of the 2015 establishment, not Trump. And it is Nikki Haley that single-handedly embodies that old establishment. Trump has earned the endorsement of quite a few career politicians and old establishment types. But let me explain why this is different. Let's take probably example number 1 of a career politician. Former Representative Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy was the last remaining big player amongst the old establishment in the House. He was groomed to be the House Majority Leader after Paul Ryan, and some of the biggest old establishment House reps of all time liked him. However, he had endorsed Trump, but he likely didn't do this out of some form of political passion or his ideals. Kevin and many other congressmen themselves truly have little to no ideals. They see politics as a way to play with the big boys and become powerful, as politics does often attract the worst people. They don't want to help the average person. And so when Trump broke the old establishment's tightened grip in 2016, many of them continued to have poor voting records. They had assumed that Trump's style of politics would be a 4-year fad. And now, with it looking likely that Trump will be the head of the GOP table for upwards of 12 years, many congressmen want to keep their job. So around 2020, when it became clear that Trump would run again in 2024, nearly all of the congressmen from pre-2015 and beyond all began to pick up their voting records. Many proponents from pre-2020 who liked amnesty have adopted similarly hardline immigration stances of the new GOP. Just look at any scorecard of these congressmen. Elise Stefanik is another prime example. Her pre-2020 voting record is truly abysmal. But since then, in order to not get primaried out, she's had a reasonable record. Many of these congressmen don't actually hold MAGA views, but in order to keep their job, they will vote MAGA. Once more, look no further than Kevin McCarthy himself. Once he was ousted as Speaker and later resigned, he trashed the MAGA base. He never was MAGA, but those in the political establishment who are smart and want to keep their jobs fall in line, and they themselves became MAGA. At the end of the day, the establishment holds the power, and MAGA, while despising the establishment, should not be afraid to become the establishment. During 2010, the Democrat establishment killed off nearly every blue dog, and in 2022, the new MAGA establishment began to become powerful enough that nearly every single open primary seat was won by MAGA. We also now have the means to transform our Senate into MAGA. While it may look far away, the freshmen of the Senate are far better now than ever before. This is necessary as the Founding Fathers built the Senate to be immune to fads. Let's look at the class of freshmen in 16, 18, 20, and 22. Each year they have gotten better. Even the most generic Republicans nowadays are Trump-loving MAGA people. We now have the power to block Bush types from winning primaries. We now have think tanks working towards our goals. For example, the Heritage Foundation, which pre-2020 were rather kind of generic Republicans, now have begun working on Project 2025, an operation that exceeds any scale or efficiency that the grassroots can complete. You have to have establishment power in order to implement something such as Project 2025, a fundamental change in their goals to align with ours. The establishment was not created by mistake. If you want your political ideas to actually be implemented, you must create your new establishment, or you must force the establishment of old to bend to your will. Let's look at the flash in the pan Tea Party movement. While they managed to get many people elected during the Obama administration, they actually struggled to gain long-term power. They failed to create their own establishment. Had they succeeded, you likely would have seen Rand Paul be the 2016 nominee, and many of the new congressmen would be far closer to Massey. However, that never happened. The Tea Party failed to get its claws deep into the establishment, and it also failed to create its own. So it is forever left to be a footnote in the GOP. But MAGA has succeeded where the Tea Party failed, a political movement that has managed to destroy the old establishment and replaced it. A movement that has seized control amongst the party. A movement that has transcended being a footnote, but rather has become a chapter in the annals of political history. That is why the GOP MAGA should not be afraid of becoming the establishment. We can use the establishment power to further our goals and to help the average working person, something that the establishment of old failed to do. So to call Donald Trump the establishment is a complete misrepresentation of the establishment. The establishment of today is nothing like the establishment of 2016 and before. Trump fought and killed the old political establishment. Nikki Haley represents the old political establishment. Her donors, the only parts of the older establishment that exist, have coalesced around her. So make no mistake, Trump is the establishment, but he's the establishment of 2024. He is the establishment of MAGA. He is the new establishment, and that's not something we should be afraid of.
The time has come, the fight is on. We've picked the man to run for president. Ohio sent her noble, worthy son. The man we need, the man to lead our strong and mighty craft through storm at sea to victory. It's William Howard Taft. Ah, get on a raft with Taft, boys, get on the winning boat. The man worthwhile with a friendly smile will get the honest vote. He'll save the country sure, boys from Bryanhurst and Graft. So all join in, we're sure to win.